excited to see who the other girls are, because I love watching interviews from like girls that I like follow or have been following for a while or something
Oh,
in the industry.
I think you might know. I interviewed Percy Cat. Do you know Percy Cat? She's
Percy Cat, yeah. She has a lot of the no face, right?
no face, and we did the
hmm
whole without face.
Cool. Yeah, I've DM'd with her like a little back and forth, but that's cool.
She's really great.
Let's see that one.
Jessa Jordan. I don't know if you know her. Anyway, okay, I'm just starting an interview. There's so many incredible erotic artists there.
Mm-hmm.
I um I avoided the internet. I don't know why. Maybe I had my own insecurities about being in community. I kind of isolated myself. I would say to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to go online. I was like, holy shit, there's so many incredible women out there doing some amazing work. And you're one.
I went through the same like awakening, I guess, because for a few years I wasn't totally out. I was just out to my family and friends, and then once it became public and I started tapping into what everyone else is doing, I was like, wow, these girls are so resourceful. Like, how do you sell something that's like not allowed anywhere and it's free everywhere? It's like selling oxygen.
So,
Yeah.
okay, when was that? When did this awakening happen?
Well, so I like just social media sex work. I just discovered maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, how like activist side of it and harm reduction sharing side of it versus just like hot girls that I was following previously.
The sea of
But
girls.
yeah, so I probably follow like most people you're going to interview, and there's just so many of them that I just follow them all.
Is one of my questions is, who do you follow? I'm really curious about, like, right now, like who's your person, who are your people?
That's a great question.
Who inspired?
I follow a ton of like femme-doms. I think those are my favorite accounts, and a lot of people who are kind of trying to be involved in the community and who I don't, there's so many. For like femdoms, I really like I follow King Lexa, Lorelei Lee. She does a lot of stuff for the community. She was one of the first BDS like femdom porn stars that I ever seen on the internet when I was in like high school. So she's really cool. Lorelei Lee, find her.
Okay.
A few others, Evil Woman. She's from like Prague, and she's just like, yeah, she's like like if there was a caricature in like if you were to write a dominatrix in like a comedy book, or not a comedy book, a comic book,
Yeah.
like she would just be exactly it. Her accent, her like everything she says is just so like remember Eurotrip?
No.
There's a movie, if anyone's watching this and you remember Eurotrip, and it's the there's like a dominatrix scene that was just so stereotypical. It was just like it was the Xena actress.
Oh yeah.
And she was like, she had this European accent and was very mean, and I like a lot of those accounts. Those are like the accounts that I follow the most, or that I'm most interested in following.
Why? What is it about these accounts right now? I'm sure I don't know, I go through phases a little bit. Like what's captivating you at this point?
Mhm. I mean, I follow like Pretty Boy Girl too, and like Stripper Writer and Jack Stripper, and like all the girls that are doing stuff like community wise and are more like dancers. And then now that I'm working online, basically just since COVID or a little before COVID, I started working online. Now I just follow like mostly or pay attention to these femme-domme accounts because that's the niche that I work in now online.
Are they inspiring to you? Do you ever feel because there's this fine line sometimes that my ego goes through, I should say, where I get scared a little bit that there's not enough room for me somewhere. So sometimes I look at these pages and I'm like really inspired. And then sometimes I'm like completely threatened to like close it down and like, I got to step back for a second. Like, what is your experience with that?
Definitely both, especially like when you first discover a little bit of it, you're like, wow, I'm not alone. And then you discover like so much that you're like, whoa, I'm like a drop in the ocean. Like,
Yeah.
how do I like, I don't know, swarm or flood this niche when there's so much competition?
Yeah, that's definitely a part of I guess maybe that's part of my spiritual journey, is reminding myself that whatever unique thing that is me is enough, I guess, to remain as curious and lean into all of those feelings of not belonging or insecurity or whatever. Oh, hello, kitty.
Hi.
Yeah, actually why I started doing these interviews, because I thought the best way for me to get over my fear is to just get to know people as humans. And that's part of the work that I do as an artist, is the rehumanizing of sex workers.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
It's definitely, it's like the personas that we're all like supposed to portray are supposed to be intimidating too. So like I'm like just obsessed with beautiful women. It's like all I look at all the time. I know that sounds like really pervy and weird, but like all I follow if I'm watching porn, it's like women. And oh, Jesus Christ.
Hello.
So it does get like really okay. It gets to a point where there's so many comparisons that I'm just like, wow, like I can't do any of this stuff. And it's like so amazing and talented and beautiful that like, why am I even trying? I should just give up.
Oh, I'm so glad I'm alone in that feeling. Like sometimes it really hits me hard, and I have to like, it's a real process for me to remind myself that I'm good enough, and recently I went through this because I'm hitting 40 soon. So there's this like female, like we've all been preparing for 40 since we were, I guess. And I'm trying to really come to terms with whatever that means for my body, for my skin, for my appeal. Like I'm still trying to figure out the online world too. And I'm like, I don't even know to begin with that. And I don't want to have to change my niche, let's say, because of my age. But I think that that's just part of, accepting wherever we're at. I don't know. I'm still working on it, but I tell you, the older I get, the harder it is for me to for my ego, not for me, for my ego, to see the girls getting younger and younger. So that's definitely a process.
I totally, of course, I agree with that. And it's not something you think about at that age. And then it's like a hindsight thing. But what I recently just, it kind of hit me. So there's all these apps that you can, like the Facetune app. I think it's just called Face app. Like, I don't know if you've seen the before and afters, but you can just become a different person. So the cool thing about working in the online space, and these days you don't really need an agency, you don't need a production company, you don't need anything.
No.
So like if you're making content like at home, you're not like an actor in a movie somewhere, they do face tuning for video. So really, you can just be an avatar on the internet permanently and live through like a high definition version of, like, a totally different version of yourself, and no one ever has to actually meet you, and you just rake in the money. Like, as long as, what really comes down to is like being persistent and constantly putting shit out there. That's like the best advice I've ever heard, and the best, like the thing that works the best with what I do. And I, like, also, because I'm getting older and I've been dancing for so long, and I don't even know when the clubs will open back up, probably fucking by the time I'm too old to even do it anymore. So the thing about getting older is that there is like the MILF category, and you can't be young in that category. You have to be older. Can you not? Can you?
I love your
She's like, I'm a superstar. Okay.
It's like,
oh baby. Always close by,
always
waiting for a hand.
you're totally right. And like, I'm definitely moving forward in that. And I just started pumping out, I'm a filmmaker anyway. So like making content for me is just a lot of fun. My boyfriend and I do it, and we really enjoy it. I feel like I'm just starting to build a lot more confidence in marketing more, and like going out there and like, kind of spreading, I don't know. I feel like the momentum, I'm starting to catch the momentum of like the consistency of the content and all that stuff. So I think you're definitely right. You can only be certain things in certain categories. I hate that we categorize things. And bridging, and sometimes being an in-between category is really nice too. And there's all sorts to profit from the moment.
I just try to remind myself, like, the MILF and the like stepmom and stuff, those categories are like top 5 most searched on Pornhub and like all the biggest porn sites, like, for a reason. And in the femme-dom community, being a little more mature is someone told me this. There's a woman, her name is she goes by Russian Dominatrix on social media, and I think she's, I don't want to say her age, but she told me she's been in the industry for like 20 years, real time as well as online. And she told me that after you hit 35, that's when you start making the most money in the femdom world, because guys look for that older, nurturing, guiding, kind of like motherly thing. And you can't do that if you're like a 21-year-old running around, I don't know,
So true. Yeah, there's it's okay to let go of the old and like step into what's coming. I'm really appreciating this conversation with you. Thank you so much. I will, this femdom thing. I did a little research on you. I mean, I follow you, you for a long time. And you do JOI. Is it JOI or is it like, I mean, I say JOI, but is it? Yeah, I mean, but I live in Canada, and in French, it's like joie. When I see it, I kind of read French, like a joy video. Anyway.
Joie.
Joie. But I'm fascinated, and it's really beautiful, this like positive reinforcement thing that you do. I want to know, like, what is the origin story of this? Because for anybody who will watch this, they won't know what I'm talking about. Could you kind of like contain this, like let us know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
You got there, and like what is, I have so many questions about it, but I'm really curious about like what drives your next material. Like I'm wondering how you get inspired by this. I just think it's beautiful.
Aw, you're
Yeah.
so sweet. Thank you for the validation, first of all. Needed it, always. So JOI stands for jerk off instructions, for those who don't know, and it's basically guiding someone into doing something with their hand or just in general, focusing on something while they're jerking off. And the videos I make are POV style, so it's as if I'm talking to them.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, first of all, I think loneliness and people not being able to, maybe socially awkward or maybe disabilities or just in general, like they don't have the time to date, whatever. So maybe they're at home and it becomes really repetitive and predictable.
Yeah.
So when they watch these videos that are unpredictable, where someone like tells them what to do, like for example, I just edited one I made. I just edited one this morning that was a metronome JOI. So it was kind of like you pump with the beat as it increases, as it slows down, when it stops. And a lot of people, like when they're jerking off, it's kind of just like frantically, and they have to watch like a ton of visual stimulation to be able to focus and not think about like work and all this crap. So it's kind of like what I feel like I would enjoy, someone telling me to kind of focus and allow myself to like give myself permission to enjoy it and stop thinking about all these stressful things and stop suppressing and like take deep breaths and like really try to focus on getting an orgasm. And it is controlling, you know, but it's more of like a mommy controlling or teacher controlling or like nurse controlling, like babysitter type of controlling versus I think a lot of content these days is very is degrading because there's a need for it. I think there's like a lack of encouraging stuff. And I know like when people think of like dominatrix or femdom, they don't think of like nice. They think like, oh, you're a loser, you don't like deserve me or whatever, all this stuff, which I do those clips too. But because that market really is so saturated that they just sell less often. And the clips that I've made that are like therapeutic kind of and have like binaural background theta wave beats and like breathing exercises and stuff, that stuff is really popular, a lot more popular than even like actual, like I've made squirting videos that don't sell nearly as often. And just, you know, people, it's not as what's the word, like cerebral or whatever. People really want someone else to do it for them, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, like, okay, the role of intimacy is so valuable as a sex worker. Like, I'm sure you know this. It's something that, it's something I've heard different types of sex workers preach to into the wind, basically, is the service, the service that we provide is medicine. It is intimacy. It is seeing someone as they are with whatever need they have without judgment. That's
Mm-hmm.
here to reflect back positive affirmation, like
Mm-hmm.
even if it means degrading. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's a performance art that requires a lot of sensitivity and a lot of mirroring, um,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of listening, and like trying to like figure out what's needed here. I think women are really especially tuned into that. We've been cultured that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're definitely like, we've been conditioned to be nurturers because, I mean, if you look at most of the people who are in the nurturing jobs, like healthcare and um, wait staff and stuff like that, it's a lot of women. Women have adopted those roles, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. What does like do you feel like intimacy? I'm wondering, in the States, especially in Canada, we have a very different experience from you often. Right now, we're like looking like in at whatever's going on in there. We don't know. But the COVID experience for us is very different. We have our government stepped up, and anyone has access to enough money to live every month if they need to. They just can get it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll pay our taxes on it later, um, but the role of intimacy, I'm worried about people, because we're all told to self-isolate right now. And everyone is basically, and I worry about how people are managing their isolation. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the online world and what you're doing, to me, it's such good medicine.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Well, there's I forget which country it is. I think it's New Zealand. They give, I fact checked this when I saw it going around. They give people with disabilities enough money to buy uh like service from sex workers. I think like a couple times a year.
Really?
And we don't think about how nobody talks about how many cis men are, who are good normal people who don't ever have sex, or no, they don't even get a hug. No one ever even touches them. Like, I just can't even imagine, like, maybe their mom every once in a while. But to expect those people to just live their entire lives like that, and then society makes fun of them, and uh some people are just virgins their entire life because they're shy, or they like, mental or physical disabilities. And to not provide something for those, when there are women or workers who will provide those services, but we make it illegal. Like, I mean, God, I could just go on about this forever.
I mean, it's not just illegal. It's like the worst thing you could possibly do.
Mhm.
It's like
Yeah, morally, like.
it's like the shaming that goes on, like just like the microaggressions that you my boyfriend now catches it. Like, we've been watching a show, doesn't matter what show, and there's like these little hits at sex workers of like, oh, I'm glad my daughter's not on the pole, like that kind of like joke, where he's starting to
Mhm.
this, wow, like there's so much influence in the media about shaming, and
Mhm.
the service, the medicine that's provided is, you know it's the most humane, honest,
Mhm.
I think.
It's like absolutely necessary for like our species, and we just don't allow it.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Weird.
It's so weird. And I don't think our world will get to a point where we're all okay with it. And I think, I mean, I don't see it happening like my lifetime or even like children's or grandchildren's lifetimes. It just seems like it's too, like you said, microaggressions, like that is brainwashing, every day, here and there, tiny little nudges to think a certain way is like very effective, simple brainwashing. So it's too bad. It's just, I don't think it's gonna change. The only thing now is they're doing some weird like deep face stuff. Have you seen the deep face stuff?
No.
So they're able to superimpose someone's face on like a naked body. So they're doing this like, and it's in video and it looks totally real. Oh my God, look it up. It's super creepy. And they'll even,
It's so nerdy.
Super creepy. And it's like, I don't even want to get too into what people are doing with it, but it definitely is getting into the wrong hands. And the app or the technology will like predict what the person probably looks like naked and create that and make a video out of it or whatever. And she's back. Okay.
Welcome back, kitty.
So with that out there, like, anyone can be a porn star. Does it even really matter? Like, you can say, no, that's not really me. That's not my naked body. That's someone else, but it looks just like what I would look like. Like, who even cares anymore? I don't know.
I always wanted to be a porn star, and I was always told I should be a porn star, but I had a lot of trauma in my life, and I think I probably would have been harmed had I gotten into the industry at the time. Now I'm in a relationship, and I'm having the time of my life, and I don't think I'll ever be a star, but I'm definitely really enjoying the process of claiming whatever this is. Okay, back to the JOI, to the joie video. How do you, I'm fat, you are super intelligent, you know that. You have a lot of depth to the nuance to whatever you're bringing to the table. I can tell you're a very well researched woman, and fun with it too. I'm just curious about, what is your creative process? Like, how do you seem to maintain a fountain of ideas? Like, what are you reading books? Like, what inspires these videos or content or whatever? Because you're brilliant at it. I think.
It definitely was not something that I just was like, oh, I should do this because I need money. It was years in the making, and mostly I can attribute it to my highest paying client, one of my highest paying clients for a while, for like, at this point, I mean, I haven't seen him for like a year because of COVID, but I met him at the club, and he was just into JOIs, but he didn't want me to be mean. He just wanted me to be controlling. So I probably met him in like, I don't know, 2015. And I had already, before that, like maybe 9 years ago, was the first time I like whipped someone and got paid for it. But this was different because it was mostly verbal, and he didn't like pain, and he didn't like degradation. He liked me to be a little bratty. He liked a little bit of femme-domme, so he paid really well. He wanted me to spend it on like, hot, like sexy shoes and shit like that.
Great.
So he so he was, not only was he um he was a kind of submissive that like I'd never really encountered. And then so he would buy a lot of clips on this site called I Want Clips. It's a femme-domme clip store site. Probably one of the biggest right now. And he had hundreds. Whoop. Oh my God, can you pick a location? Can you make a decision? Okay. So he had like a vault of clips that he had bought. He just had hundreds and hundreds of clips that he'd purchased. I'm guessing he had like 1,000 because I never got to the end pages. I would just keep going and going, and I would watch all of these clips all the time because I wanted to absorb whatever it was that he wanted to hear, because he was, the more I did it, the more he paid me. Okay. The better I was at it, the more I made. Like
a little bit of like research and development process.
Exactly. Yeah, some market research. And I would just listen to these clips like while doing the dishes, you know, just while at the gym. I would just listen to them over and over and over, all of these different JY clips. And the ones that he kept buying were all very similar. They're all like mostly like bratty, controlling, dominant, but not very degrading. All POV, all like had a countdown, maybe like a denial, edging, all kind of unpredictable, playful, different games. And he was always telling me, like, you got to get online. There's so much money online. And I never wanted to because I love dancing. I was good at dancing, and I knew how much work. I mean, I did not fucking realize that it was a lot more work than I even expected. Yeah. But I knew it was going to be a ton, so much work. Oh, I hate it. But he was right, and I knew he was right. And he's like, I mean, last I talked to him, he was like, you know, look at the monster I've created. And I was like, yeah, thank you. Because really, it was him mentoring me in a way, him like molding me to become what he wanted to pay for. And yeah, and then COVID happened and the clubs closed. So I started clip making.
So you were kind of like just set up for success in this development.
Well, yeah, it's like if I was like, I don't know, if I was a nurse and I've been a nurse for like 8 years and someone came in and was like, we want to do a show about nurses. I'd be like, sure. What do you want to know?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Okay, I've got other questions. Unless there's anything else you'd like to say about this experience for you. You're good? Okay. Good. Oh, man. I don't know. There's so many questions now. I got that. Okay. I guess there's some stuff that I've noticed. There's some stuff that I've noticed with your posts lately, and I've noticed it with a lot of sex worker posts lately, is the censorship problem that doesn't allow, there's a barrier. There's the shadow banning, the blocking that sex workers have to go through to promote themselves, and then there's these other pages and accounts who are perfectly like welcome to do whatever the hell they want. So that's happened with you a couple times, being I've been shadow banned and I've had a couple of posts removed, but I've been seeing it a lot lately. Like it's kind of,
Mm-hmm.
it's insane the amount of women who aren't allowed to just express themselves and what I think is not even against any sort of guideline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely I've been shadow banned and like all good sluts, had my stuff removed. um, Meanwhile, like Playboy can post nudes and um, all that stuff. But and Pornhub posts whatever they want. So weird. You can't advertise that you're on Pornhub. I've had like some of my I've had my story Pornhub promotions removed, but I have like a photo of the Pornhub thing, but it doesn't say anything in the words. And I think I just I don't know how they screen this stuff, but you know, they'll remove some of it saying you can't promote like sexual stuff, and they'll keep other parts of it. I know as of uh, September, I just read something. I just read like a new TOS of Twitter where they will suspend accounts for like way more stuff. If you post a link without words too often, it's like spammy. If you post anything that's trying to redirect to selling services, if you do like retweet for retweet, or if you just engage with the same people over and over, like engagement groups, there's like girls who will like and comment on each other's stuff just over and over to increase visibility, but that it seems like that's not going to be allowed anymore, and that will just get you flagged. So I guess want they want these apps to be like social apps. They don't want you like selling stuff, and but other people, I don't know, I think it just depends on how much money you make them. So it's really confusing, and it's getting to a point where like we're polar bears and the ice is melting in the space of the internet. Like we have less and less places to go to market our stuff, even though everyone wants to see it and everyone's talking about it, but we're just getting like cornered. And like, how do you sell something that you can't tell anyone about except for on other sites that are also selling stuff? So
This SESTA FOSTA is really
mm-hmm.
it's an American law, and as a Canadian, I suffer from it.
Mm-hmm.
Any sense to me? It's the conflation of sex trafficking and sex work is just
Mm-hmm.
harmful.
Yeah, people are just horophobic. They just they don't actually care. They just don't like women enjoying sex. It's really weird that we normalize women. Yeah, yeah. We normalize women not enjoying sex. We normalize like wives being like unhappy and miserable and like fucking people like fucking their husband because they have to or something. Like that's weird. It's not normal, but it's totally, society thinks it's like okay to joke about in like movies and stuff. But like, you know, some like rich housewife will be like, oh, he got me a diamond ring, I guess I gotta fuck him tonight, in like in like a random normal show. Like I just, God forbid she enjoys it.
Yeah, and it's funny too, like I was an in-person, I was full service sex worker for many years, and I have clients that were married, and they'd always say like, my wife's just not very sexual. And I'd be like, have you talked to her? Like, I don't know if that's totally true or not. Like, it was like 95% of the married clients that I had would say that their wives weren't sexual. And I wonder what weird, I don't know.
It's
is going on there? Like, what's happening with that?
I think like it's especially weird because right before you hit menopause, your body gives you like a burst of horniness to try to like make a baby one last time. So that's why like, you know, mom and MILF and stepmom, they're all like trying to, like, the pornos and the stereotype is like they're trying to like fuck these hot younger studs to like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I know that like some older women I know are like hornier than ever before.
Oh,
at that age.
yeah. But the vulnerability is not there. The ability to be vulnerable and whatever standard men have for their women, I think is this weird standard that they have.
Definitely unrealistic.
Yeah. It's really it's fascinating to me. Did you ever do, can I ask, did you ever do full service? Or I know that you dance and you do online content.
I have when before I actually turned 20.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say how young I was, but there were a few times, and then once I started dancing, in my early 20s, I was just like, wow, I can make all of this money and like not do anything. And then femme-dom and fetish was like, wow, I can make even more money and then be like mean and stuff. Like I don't have to like do this customer service bullshit. So
Yes.
but I also, you know, I grew up like really poor and it seemed very logical. And then I'm also really lucky in being skinny and white and cute. And that is a lot of it, what it comes down to, because how it started, it ended up going into a more lucrative direction because of just genetics.
Yes, I would agree on that. I've had that same experience. I actually I do a show called The Parlor Project. That's why my tag is The Parlor Project, and it's a ceremony where I invite people in and I give them an experience of coming into a session with me, but it's very ritualized, it's very immersive, and in a group setting. So it's like a group of people having erotic, engaging with an erotic object, but together. So there's like a lot of vulnerability that happens, and it changes people's, I don't know, their experience as sex workers, because it's so personal. But, did you hear that? She just
the ear flaps.
And what was I? One of the, afterward we always do a deep, because it's very intense, this journey I take people on, and afterward we do a debrief. And someone said to me, you know, I don't feel like I'm seeing all of you for some reason, because part of the experience is being seen. And I realized that what I'm presenting, I present all of my experience. I did these before and after selfies for 2 years. It's a whole thing. But they were looking to see some sort of ugliness in me. And I realized, oh, it's just that I just happen to be attractive. And because I happen to be attractive, people are able to digest the experience a little bit easier, so that when I see someone who's less attractive doing the same work, they're probably able to, like, I don't know, accept it a little bit more. It's a very strange experience. But yeah, I mean, the point of entry is you're definitely when you're white and skinny.
Yeah, I absolutely agree that people have just biased, especially guys.
There's so much beauty out there, and you know, there's so many worlds to explore if you're single or if you're in a relationship where you can do that. But, okay, I have a question about your before and after rituals, because I'm imagining you dancing or like seeing a client or like getting ready to do your content, and I'm curious, like how do you bring yourself into the moment, and then how do you disengage? How do you debrief yourself? How do you come down from that, decompress?
Well, I start most of my days with a mental breakdown. Let's be real. I usually end it with one too, just to really sandwich the day.
Yeah. Not for you, but for feeling like I'm not alone.
Yeah, usually I love producing stuff. I love writing scripts, like hair, makeup. That stuff is all really enjoyable for me, and I can do it without being asked. Even editing, I enjoy editing. All of the rest of it, oh, can't stand it. Awful.
Yeah.
Could live without doing it ever again. Makes me not want to do it at all. So like the micromanagement, like I've never been good at managing my time because of dancing. Dancing allowed me to kind of just wake up and work whenever I felt like it, and come home and disassociate from that. Or like, I didn't take my work home. I mean, sometimes if I was stressed out, but it was separate. And now it's like everything I do all the time revolves around work, because because like the club's closed, and then I went from making like X amount to zero. I was like, okay, I better like hit the ground running and just go as hard as possible to try to make that same amount online.
I went through the same thing. I was like a panic. I went in, shifted into high gear, and everyone around me is like taking some time off, and I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Like, are you really waiting for the clubs to open back up? Because
well, for me, I had a tour with my show. I had a Canadian tour. I had it all up, and it was for April. And then March happened. I was stuck inside the house, and I was like, my whole identity changed. I was like, I had to grieve out. But at the same time, I was like, how am I going to stay relevant? How am I going to make money? Like, I was a performance artist. And how do I translate what I was doing with such intimacy online? Didn't know how to do that.
I feel that was definitely like everything I knew had just like disappeared, and it was time to like, go or like adapt or die, basically. So
yeah, adapted. So there's no like moment of work right now. It's just all work. It's all consuming for you.
Yeah, I'm definitely pretty much like everything I do revolves around like brainstorming and micromanaging the whole thing. And I think I guess when I try to get inspired for ideas, I just research the niche that I'm trying to fill, and I try to find whatever the most popular stuff is and think like, do I know enough about that to try it, and then see how that goes. And if it goes well, then I will keep doing that. So right now, like some of the top most popular femme-domme categories are home wrecker, which is POV me trying to ruin your relationship, which I didn't tap into that for a while, because Oh, I hate it a little bit because I'm like, ooh, you know, let a bitch try, but like, that's being like the controlling person I am, but that is a really big niche.
I don't, I'm not going to press on this, but being in a relationship, I find it very difficult to do anything that that would threaten my relationship in any way,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I can imagine
Yeah.
playing this role of a homewrecker.
Yeah. Yeah. So like the first, I recently did like a script for a home wrecker therapist, JOI.
Wow.
And it was like is like a sex therapist that like, and it was an encouragement. So it was like, oh, like, I see you're very dissatisfied at home, all this stuff, like maybe I can help you. Um, maybe you should see me like twice a week. And it was like, I can't touch you, but I'll tell you what to do with your hand. And then did like a JOI, maybe 15-minute clip like that. But same, because I'm a very, very monogamous type of person.
Me too.
I really like to be, I really like to obsess over one person. I've always been like that. And ugh. But that's one of like the top 5 most popular categories right now. And it is just role play, and it's what people are buying. And that's I have like boundaries that I won't really tap into.
Okay.
Another really popular one is blackmail fetish. Like, there's people who want you to like team viewer on their computer and like use their credit card, or like they want to like send you information and have you like use it against them. It like gives them a rush. A lot of that stuff is like really illegal, and they can like turn it on you if they end up like getting caught by their wife. They'll be like, oh, well, she did it to me. Like, just it can become like a really big mess. So that's stuff I don't really tap into.
I had no idea that that's a thing.
That is a big
I'm not surprised.
It's so big. If you go on iwantclips.com, this femme-domme site, this clip store site, the site's been around for like a decade. And if you go to their top most popular categories, it's blackmail, financial domination, cum eating instructions. Guys, I love eating cum.
Yeah, they do.
They don't want to talk about it, but they love it.
They do.
And coerced bisexual. That's also in the top 5. So coerced by, or coerced bisexuality is like not necessarily convincing someone that they want to like try their own sex or try a different sex, but not convincing them, maybe not coercing them. There's some like trickery type of clips too, but
like seduced consent kind of stuff.
Yeah. And even further, like there's forced by, that's another category, but coerced by is the popular one, because it's kind of like a nudge. And I've done a few of those, and it's like guys, they want to suck dick, they want to pay money for it, they want to be blackmailed into it, they want to eat the cum. And these are the top 5 categories.
What does that say to you? Because I know you're studying the culture like of humanity while you're doing this. I imagine you are like, okay, like this is it's to me that speaks so loudly about
suppression
and the climate that we're in.
Yeah, I think
you're like Like you're seeing this.
Definitely. I feel like I'm not even really, because I've only been in this industry, like I'm not even 30 yet. And I know girls that have been doing it for so long. Like Alexandra Snow has been in the industry for like 20 years. Sierra Lynch, just a bunch of girls that they've been doing they've basically shaped the online clip industry. So this is just, for me, I'm like the positive JOI encouragement stuff. I feel like that I'm an expert in.
Yes. Yeah.
When it comes to like blackmail fetish, that I have known about for years. I just recently have been trying to like look into. I'll probably stay away from it for the most part because it seems a little could be problematic.
Yeah, could be.
Liabilities.
Well, you really represent to me a woman in this industry who has her head on her shoulders, and a real example to me, like something that I aspire to. I really appreciate the wisdom that you've been sharing. I'm learning a lot from this conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. How does your feminist theology how do you interact with that and your work? Like, does one inform the other, or like, first of all, do you have a feminist theology? What's your take on feminism? I know you're a feminist. What's your definition of it, and how does that how is it integrated into your work and into your life?
So it's been like kind of a conversation I've had with a few other femme-doms, and like acknowledging that gender is like a spectrum, and there is no actual like, oops, my alarm. There's no actual like superiority between sexes. Like this is off brand, but I don't actually believe that anyone with any sort of genitals, or however they present, whether they're femme or non-binary, or if they have like mixed genitals, like none of that stuff is like, I know that is the reality. And then there's the fantasy of like women are superior in like the femdom world, like with like kind of, it makes me kind of conflicted because of what I believe, and then what I know to be true, and then the like performance art and trying to make money off of this kink. And it's not like to tell people like, oh, femdom, like females are not females are not superior or whatever. Like there are people who have these kinks, and I don't want to kink shame them by reminding them that gender doesn't exist, but like I'm not going to say that in all of my clips where I'm talking about like how the matriarchy is like the right way of living.
I like, for me, feminism, I resisted the whole idea of feminism because of what I thought it was, from the way my mother she would say like, man hater, no, man eater, like her style. And
I like that.
And she was good at it. But there was a little man hating in there, but I get it, because there is oppression exists for women.
Mm-hmm.
Just in a different way for different identity relationships with as women. But like it's impossible to ignore the fact that there's serious oppression toward women, and that the world is built on our backs, that we do the work to maintain the integrity of humanity. We, as female sex workers especially, I would say, we even do the work of building these websites, these platforms, you know, like it's our work. And then we're, you know, oppressed. I'm just gonna use that word. And yet, like, there's lots of different intersections of it. And it took me a long time to realize that I truly am a feminist, because for me, feminism meets you where you're at. And so if your identity is wrapped up in whatever, then that's your form of feminism, and that's perfectly necessary for the liberation of that kind of identity in womanhood in general. And so I often feel like just profiting off of beauty is a serious form of feminism. I'm glad to take part in it, you know, to not let someone else profit from it, but that I'll profit from it, and I'll decide how I'm going to exploit my body and my resources.
Yeah, well, you know, cis men have been profiting off of women's beauty for so long, and they've been using us and our bodies to sell everything from burgers to cars to whatever. And as soon as we try to do it ourselves for ourselves, it's like, you're a slut, no one will ever want to marry you. Like I know logically gender doesn't matter, like there's no such thing, like genitals, whatever. Like people, there's a ton of people who are born, there's as many people who are born intersex with like mixed genitals as there are people who are redheads or have green eyes. So it's a lot of people that people forget that have like both things or some of both things.
Yeah.
But then I catch myself thinking like, you know, the world would be a safer place if we just gave all guns to women. Like, it's just literally the numbers, like the people who cause the most violence and theft and harm. It's like, I think it's like 97% men. Yikes. So yeah. I think they need a little time out sometimes, but then I have to remember, like, it's a spectrum. I don't know.
It's identity politics for me is like is something that I can participate from as an outsider, like a privilege. I'll
same.
What I do know is that there are identities that resonate with me. There are identities that I identify with, I assume, but there are ways that I am treated because of the way other people identify me. And different things. And and you can, you know, the greatest example for me in my great privilege is not knowing if I got the job because I'm actually capable or because someone wants to fuck. You know what
totally.
I mean? It's just like I'm treated. It's the way I'm treated is where the oppression happens. It's not the way that I see myself. Those are two very different things.
Totally.
Yeah, and so I like my politics, I guess, and my form of feminism personally is in making sure that we use language that humanizes anybody, especially those who are oppressed and treated with violence in all sorts of ways. Usually that's women or something that identifies like a woman, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I feel like I've always, even as a child, have been very empathetic, and like small things make me overthink stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I always try to be like hyper aware of if, and it you know, there was a period in whatever middle school, high school where I was a total douchebag, but there were I remember I think I was like 14 or 15. I used a word, I'm going to say it, I used the word faggot. I think I was 14. And I said it in front of like a few people, and one of the people called me out and was like, hey, that's not a nice word. Like, it would be cool if you like didn't say it, and like this is why. Like, gave me like a quick little check, a little history background. And it's a word that like I don't remember the last time I used it, just because I just replaced it with other words, like just like the word retard. Like, it doesn't really come out because I don't, like, I feel when I say it, or when I, there's certain words that when I say it, I'm like, ooh, like that could hurt someone like in this way, and like I don't want to hurt them. That's fine. I'll just say, I just won't say it. Like, I don't need it. That's for people who are like overwhelmed by, oh my god, I need to like change pronouns, or like they like don't have like the brain capacity just like to just use a different word. That makes them like angry, like they have a limited storage space, that they're like, oh, this is taking up too much space. I don't understand that. I don't get it at all. So
Yeah.
I think it's just so easy to just accommodate, especially when like you're not the marginalized one. For me, if I'm not marginalized, it's really easy for me to accommodate. Like, I'll forget before I do it on purpose, maliciously.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And I know that comes from a place of having experienced.
Yeah. And we have to unlearn so much that is just, it's like impulsive. We don't even think about it. Like things that are just wired in, and like those neurons, the bridge between those neurons is like really strong, and it's
Yeah.
from our parents or the boomers or whatever. I don't know who it is, but it's a lot of accountability.
Yeah. It's our colonizers, really.
It's the colonizers and religion.
The disease of colonization.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
I want to cover a lot of other things, but I want to respect your time. And okay, I'm going to ask 2 more questions. Do you have time for 2 questions? Okay.
Totally.
This question is, oh man, what do I want to ask you? Okay, I've done that. I did that. I did that. I did that. Oh, okay. I'm really down to like a couple of things. Feel free to, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. Answer which one you like. We'll do like in the wheel. And then
I'll do both.
And then I always end the end with the same question every time. But okay, you can go this way, where I would love to hear if you have advice for newcomers and clients, especially new clients, if you want to like give some advice. Or I would love to hear what your vision for yourself is in the coming future. How do you see you in this world?
Advice for newcomers, you mean like workers entering the industry?
Yeah.
And how to be like a good client.
Yeah. How to not be a bad one.
Yeah. So okay, so we'll split that. And advice for newcomers, volume and consistency is everything. It really is. And there's a few pieces of advice that just circulate in my brain every single day, and one of them is better done than perfect. And I see a lot of girls creating really amazing content, and they put so much effort and so much work into it, and they put it out into the world, and they're like, oh, I worked so hard for this, it's going to be like $150 like per 10 minutes of whatever I just did. And I respect that. And everyone, that's their value that they put on their work, and it's definitely worth it. And then it's a matter of like, who's going to buy it. And then there's girls who will record something on their cell phone for 3 minutes, sell it for $3, and just boom, 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 boom. The sales just come flooding in, and like the lighting is shit. Like she's got like a Snapchat filter on with like fake eyelashes that keep like disappearing and reappearing, like, and raking in the money. Like, so there are people who, they want to do it more for the art, and that is commendable. And then there are people who are just trying to make money, and that is also commendable. So if you're able to produce like really high quality stuff and pump it out all the time, don't get burnt out, but go for it. Like that is really impressive. I think that's probably the hardest part of it. That was the hardest part of it for me, is like choosing to do like pre-scripted clips with like lighting and hair and makeup and like outfit and all this stuff, versus the girls who I have a few videos too where it's just me 3 minutes of like fucking shitty lighting and a filter, and
yeah,
it doesn't matter. It's just consistency. It's like, if you keep jumping out in front of these people and giving them the opportunity to make these impulse purchases when they're horny, and you just keep jumping out over and over, jumping out of the bushes like, hey, buy my product, hey, here I am again, every fucking day, all the time, several times a day. Like, especially if you have a niche, then you will become like the one-stop shop for that niche, because they will go to your store and they'll see like every variety of that niche, and they can just go shopping.
mm-hmm.
And so yeah, consistency and volume is everything. Like, if you might have a good product, everyone and their mom has a good product these days. Like, yeah. It's really just getting it out there as often as possible, as many places as possible. Imagine like you're a dandelion and someone blows, and you're trying to go as far as you can and spread your seeds and let them grow. So being a good client, my favorite clients, obviously tip before anything, with the introduction, like, because this work is like really overwhelming when you are by yourself and you're doing everything on your own, and you have no one to really talk to about it because it's so stigmatized, and there's no like real mentorship on this stuff, like really just Wild West. So the guys who send a tip of anything, it could be like $5, like, hey, love what you're doing, so happy I found you, period, that's it. Or they'll ask for like a custom request or something. And it's the same at the club. Like, me as a client, if I go to the club, or like there's a girl online that I want to talk to or want to buy something from her, I will always like tip, ask my question, make it brief, not like try to pick her brain, and I'll tip way extra. Like, I'll tip like 50%, because if she's happy, she's gonna give me a better time. Usually, some girls are like, I don't give a fuck, or like some content creators. I don't want to say like just girls, but yeah.
I definitely pay more attention to the clients who are tipping.
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. Simple,
Yeah.
right? Same with the therapist or any other service provider.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
It's great advice. Drill that one home enough. Tip more, please.
yeah. Yeah.
It's hard work, and it's our bodies, and it's our vulnerability, and
Mm-hmm.
so much more time that goes into creating visual content.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky my boyfriend's a filmmaker.
Oh, so lucky. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm a one-man show.
Well, I mean, you are like a Cadillac. I just, when I see your stuff, I'm like, woof, my heart.
He's so sweet.
I can tell that you're having fun, and there's just a lot of confidence. You got a great sense of humor. I just really, you are definitely someone when I saw, I was like, oh, what am I doing on here?
Oh my God.
100% why I reached out to you, because you were like too cool for school.
No.
And so I'm really happy to have met you and got to know your
Likewise.
brilliant mind. Brilliant mind. Yeah, and your generosity, because not a lot of people do want to give the tips and tricks, and I really appreciate that you did. I'm still learning. I'm learning from you. I want to try a JOI. I'm inspired to try something. I don't know. I'm inspired to try a bunch of shit because of you.
I think dirty talking is something that people have like a discomfort with, and dancing helped a lot with learning how to talk more and do less. And like when I was growing up and I used to watch porn, I would our family computer was in the kitchen, so I would sneak out of my room like in the middle of the night, dial up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm that old. Dial up, get on LimeWire, download some viruses and porn, and I would always watch it on with no sound because I didn't want to wake anyone up. So
Yeah.
I never really knew what they were saying, if they were saying anything. Like, I just assumed they were moaning. So growing up, I like didn't talk during sex. Like with my first few experiences, just
Wow. Yeah.
didn't know how.
And see, I'm a lover of words. I'm always like, give me words and I'll give you visuals. Like, I'll trade for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So fascinating.
Well, if you do,
The kitchen.
yeah, I know. Hi, Mom. If you do a JOI, a lot of times I'll have like a theme, I'll write a script,
Yeah.
and then I have a teleprompter app that is on my iPad, and sometimes I'll improvise if I know what I'm doing, but if it's pretty like intricate, or if it's a role play,
Yeah.
and like I did a nursing one where I wrote like a bunch of like things that a nurse would say and stuff that I normally wouldn't improvise as well. So it's just the teleprompter app, just like slowly just put whatever you're filming with, put that like right in front of the words.
Yeah.
So you're not.
Thank you. Wow. Now I just feel like I've got a whole new world to explore.
Yay.
Okay. So, my final question I ask everyone, and it's just meant to see who you are in this moment, how you see yourself in this moment. And so the question is, if you were a flower today, what flower would you be?
Is Venus flytrap a flower?
See?
Venus flytrap.
Yeah. Okay. I am going to take this Venus flytrap. I'm adding it to this beautiful bouquet that I've been collecting. And I am so grateful for your time and your insights, your beauty. And
I'm honored,
yeah,
humbled.
I really appreciate you. I know it took us a couple tries to get here.
Oops.
I'm just happy that we really got to connect, and I do feel like I got to connect with you and see you, and I hope that people get to see you in a way that they don't get to see you all the time. So
Thank you for doing this. I as soon as you said it, I was like, oh, we need more like sex workers interviewing sex workers. Is like, it's too many squares trying to like dive into our world to get views for their channels or whatever they are. So
yes, I just had that experience not too long ago, someone trying to speak for me, and I thought, no, you know,
they don't know what to ask. They don't know what's like disrespectful, what has been said 1,000 times. Like, they just don't get it.
yeah, well,
Thank you for doing this.
my pleasure. If you ever want to chat ever again, if something's on your mind and you want to talk about it, please contact me. I'll close this conversation. I'm going to stop recording, but then I'll just chat with you afterward. So
Okay.
I'm just going to
Thank you.